The play Born Yesterday has one of the great comic roles in American theater. It's also one of the great feel-good about America plays, back when America was great, whenever that was. In this case, it was 1946, and we just won the war against the bad guys. The bad guys then were the fascists in Germany and Italy, and you could insult somebody by calling him a fascist. On the other hand, the Soviet Union had been our great ally in defeating the fascists, so when someone told a maid in a hotel, who complained about the wealth gap in America even then, that people might call her a communist, she could reply, "I'm thinking about it," and we could still admire her. The great comic role is that of Billie Dawn. She's what her father, an ordinary guy who works for the electric company, calls the concubine of Harry Brock. Brock grew up in New Jersey during the Depression, beat up other kids to take over their paper routes, and stole junk from the local junkyard at night and sold it back to the dealer the next day. During the Second World War, he became a millionaire dealing in junk. He's the one who's called a fascist. Now he wants to buy up the scrap iron left over from the war in Europe and sell it for multiple times as much over here. But to get it here, he needs government approval. So he's hired a former assistant attorney general as his lawyer and bought a senator to shepherd his permission through Congress. And he's moved down from New York to Washington to keep an eye on his hired hands. He's brought Billie with him. On his lawyer's advice, he's protected himself by making her a partner in the business, and he needs her signature on all his various deals. But he plucked Billie out of the chorus of Anything Goes, and while she's lovely and he loves her, she's still a little rough around the edges when meeting socially with senators and their wives and the other company Brock now has to keep. So when a writer for the liberal New Republic comes to interview him, Brock hires the writer, Paul Verrall, to educate Billie. He does the job all too well. The good guys win, and playwright Garson Kanin had a big hit on his hands in post-war America, both as a play and a movie. And for me, it still works like crazy, as the Clayton Theater Guild is currently proving. Yes, it's a little too dewy-eyed and optimistic at the end, probably, but a comedy has to have a happy ending, and it's pleasant to leave the theater having good thoughts about the American people and the potential of their government. Director Sam Hack has guided a well-paced production that makes good use of the spaces on the luxury two-story hotel room suite designed by Andrew Carey, Zach Carey, and Steve Myers. Costumer Gene Hackman has a good time with the 1940s styles for the cast, especially for Billie Dawn, and Katie Costello-Johnson designed period props. Nathan Schrader keeps the lights bright. Heather Sartin has the great comic role, and she takes it and runs with it. Her Billie Dawn chomps her gun while spouting a New York accent, and she keeps the audience in stitches with her commanding deliberation as she triumphs in the show-stopping game of gin rummy that brings the first act to a triumphant close. Her comic timing is precise. So usually as that of the fine Joe O'Connor as Harry Brock, though he's fumbled a few times in the performance I saw. Mark A. Neal's Paul Verrall is a quiet guy with the knowledge, wisdom, and backbone to take on Brock when needed. As Brock's lawyer, Ed Devery, Tom Moore still clings to a shred of his integrity, while Will Shaw's senator is eager to do whatever keeps Brock's bribes coming. Cindy Dugan makes a proper senatorial spouse. Paul Schultz is a terrific find as Brock's cousin and underling. Sarah Hirschfield charms as the uppity maid thinking about communism, while Jack Jansen, Drew Rydberg, Stephen Peterson, and Lucy Sappington round out the hotel staff. Clayton Community Theater is doing one of the great American comedies, and they're doing it well.
They certainly did.
It's so much fun.